in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling out your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.
Let's go indeed, says Dr. Thunder. Shout out to Nicer, representing the early bird squad, as Bernard Riley would say. Shout out to you. Shout out to everyone. And as you guys come in today, I would like you guys to understand and to acknowledge the fact that this is the second episode of the review. The second episode of the review with Ike and Joan, and we are going to be reviewing another content from popular culture. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes, we got a fire show for you today. We're going to be talking, okay? We're going to be talking about the wolf himself, the Wolf of Wall Street, the Wolf of Wall Street, and another character that's out there. How's it going, Joan, by the way? In the middle of my sentence, let's just pause and let's just start with a little bit. How was your day?
It's good. Good. I was looking forward to this all day.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. We like that. We like that. Hopefully the audience shares the same sentiment. So we're going to be reviewing a piece of footage, okay? Perhaps we will make it a two-part series, this one. Begin the beginning here, or maybe we'll be able to exhaust the entirety of the essence, if you will, without going through the entirety of the duration of the video, which I doubt we'll be doing anyways. So, Grant Cardone, real estate mogul, salesman extraordinaire, Mr. 10X, wrote many books out there, the 10X rule and all that kind of stuff. He's Mr. Go get it, expand your pipeline, expand your visions. Yeah, the middle class is dead. Go ahead and make it, so on and so forth. And we are all familiar with the Wolf of Wall Street, are we not? So let me, are you a fan of either one of these characters? Before we get into the video, and by the way, the video we're going to be reviewing is on Jordan Belfort's channel, which is the Wolf of Wall Street's channel. He has sales, where he talks about sales and things like that, and he interviews other salespeople and perhaps motivational type people as well. I actually recommend his channel. It's good stuff. But are you a fan of either of these in terms of their book or their channel or anything like that, Joan?
Oh, you asked me? Yeah. I mean, with Grant, it's like one of those things where it's like, I can definitely take something from it, being in, someone in the sales field. Mm-hmm. His personality wise, I could really care less, but, he definitely has something to say. Definitely something to teach, but yeah, I mean, that's just how I feel about that.
His personality is a little bit much. He's a little,
but yeah, I think you gotta extra. Be, yeah, he's extra, but I think you gotta be when you're, like when you're in sales, like you have to have this confidence, and I mean, he's successful. So like he has every reason to be, the way he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's got at least close to $1 billion in real estate holdings. And he kind of built things up from the ground up in a very, very pound the pavement kind of way. And some people accuse him of fake it till you make it. What do you think about that phrase? Fake it till you make it. When it comes to business specifically, right? What do you think about that phrase? Yeah.
Well, the whole fake it till you make it thing, I think you have to have some level of confidence to fake it, convince people that you know what the heck you're talking about, that you're an expert. And for sure, I feel that there are a lot of people who succeeded faking it till they make it, because at some point they have to show what they're faking. So I think there's some truth to that. And there's just some people who don't really understand what it takes. Like they look like they're successful or whatever, but then like, are they really doing the action? Like there's a certain point of like, where's the motivation? If you're trying to be those fake it till you make it. I mean, so I think there's something about it. Something about it can work.
100%. I think that in a certain way it's inevitable if you're going to grow in business. In other words, the market is not going to wait for you to be ready, and you cannot pinpoint and snipe every opportunity. In other words, opportunities are going to be coming by you, and you're like, well, there's that big fish. I don't have the right kind of net. I don't have the right kind of harpoon, right? But the fish doesn't know that. Maybe I'll sneak up on it and pretend.
Well, yeah,
like
I mean, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I've just speaking from experience, like it started out as like, okay, we're selling like a special event band, we're trying to be like the budget friendly and stuff. But at some point we wanted to be more of the high ticket kind of service. And like, we were doing all this low ticket type of stuff. So I had to kind of fake it that like, yeah, all I do is high service stuff. And eventually I was able to sell it because I was confident in selling high ticket service. So, there's something about that. It works. It comes with the confidence, and if you're willing to put the work behind it.
Yeah. Obviously, and there's a particular lane, a particular thing which we're describing here, and people just they take the blanket statement, fake it till you make it, and then they sully it all with like, it's like, no, you cannot actually grow in business. So like you can't be, there is no, wait a minute, you're not an employee, and you're not in school either. Well, this is grade 1. And then it's like, no, you got to take wild leaps, and so on and so forth, and leverage and take credit, and then boom, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, that kind of a thing. So let's go ahead, okay, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out. Let me check out what's going on in the chat over here. Shout out to Dr. Thunder in the house. Shout out to Rayhana in the house. Shout out to 19 Bash. We got Blind Guy, his wife, their life in the house today. And we are going to be commencing now the second episode of the review. Okay, we got Jordan Belfort. We got Grant Cardone. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we're going to get down to the nitty gritty. Let me go ahead and zoom out on this here. It seems like it's kind of zoomed in a little bit. So let me see here. Go ahead and I probably did not share properly. I think I need to reshare and make sure that the audio thing is on. We build it as we fly it, ladies and gentlemen. We build it as we fly it. Grant Cardone.
It's part of the journey. You're all part of the journey.
We're faking it till we make it.
It's happening, I swear.
Let's see. Okay, go ahead.
I think people need to learn how to talk to people.
Right.
Keep talking to them no matter what their interest is. Sales training, time management, personal efficiency, closing, negotiating, personal finance, and money mastery. These are all things that I have done successfully in my life that I'm like, hey, this worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but I know it's going to work. I know it worked for me.
Yes, Grant Cardone versus the Wolf of Wall Street. Salesman extraordinaire show off.
JB here in the house, the Wolf's Den. I got a great guest today, the one you've all been waiting for. Everyone keeps thinking people keep thinking that we have this like ongoing feud, like it's the rumble in the freaking beach jungle here. But dude, I'm really actually excited to have you here. Thank you for coming, and I really appreciate you coming.
Yeah,
because I think that, listen, all I want you to know is that my whole alchemy is I want to try to extract as much as I can from you about how you go out and train salespeople, about your life, because I want to give this massive to the audience, right?
Well, everybody wants to know who's the better salesman, right? That's what they keep saying.
I don't know,
He wants to know.
You ask Jordan, he's going to say he is.
Listen, I honestly think that I love to sell.
Yeah.
But one thing I realized pretty quickly is I'm even better at training salespeople than I am I'm a great salesperson, but I really excel when I love doing it. Like when
I don't like sales at all.
I love training people.
Yeah.
So anyways, let's start in the beginning. So when did you start selling?
When I had to.
So what was the...
I started...
So Any commentary so far? What are your thoughts regarding body language, regarding just the back and forth, the banter, if you will? You already made a comment over there about that he wants to know who the best. It's not everybody else. That he's the one. He would rather this be a showdown or something like that. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously both very strong personalities. They both have like the kind of voice, like just, they're out to like eat you up, that's what they sound like. So, I mean, it's kind of like they talk over each other right away, like he's trying to introduce him and then like Grant into the background is like, yeah. It's like, just two very strong personalities.
So one thing I noticed there is that Wolf said, I love to sell, but I'm better at, I'm better at training people. I can't do the New York thing. But then Grant said, I hate to sell. Okay. For me, that would have been an opportunity to be like, hey, Grant, what do you mean by that? Right.
Right.
You notice how he blew right past that?
Yeah.
Okay. So because, and again, I'm a fan of both these people. I think they have different things to offer. Wolf of Wall Street is more of a technician. It's more of that one-on-one. I'm gonna try to just get in there no matter what, right? Obviously within reason. Grant Cardone is more of a, I'm gonna try to sell to everybody in the world. So anyway, let me not over kind of preempt the video. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here.
What was your first job? Like a formal job?
Was it a clothing store? I was paid 6% on a $12 tie. I was 16 years old.
Okay.
So I'd make whatever that is, 6% of $12. I mean,
okay, $7.20.
72
cents. Yeah, 72 cents. Yeah.
Yeah. I hated that job.
And how'd you do it? Were you good at it though?
No, I was terrible.
You weren't good at it.
I was terrible. And it was awful. The only time I was good at sales was when there was urgency on my part. Like I had to sell it. Like I sold furniture. I was terrible. I got fired. I sold clothes. I was fired from that job. And there was one other job. I think it was a refinery job. I lost that. I lost 6 jobs. But the only time that I ever sold anything successfully was a bunch of fish that we had caught, redfish, red snappers. They caught hundreds and hundreds of them. And
you caught yourself.
I was on a supply boat out in New Orleans, Louisiana, off the coast. I was doing 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, and I was helping the cook. That was my job, right? It was a total labor boat. 3 of us on the boat. We'd bring supplies out to the oil rigs. I've never told this story, and one day we dropped lines over the boat in about 120 foot of water, and we would drop lines, and it would have 120 foot line, not a fishing pole, a line.
Right.
A rope, dude, with like 80 hooks on it. And you just wait. You sit and wait, and do nothing. And then you go over there and you pull up 60 fish. Every line had 60 fish.
Really?
So like,
where was this though?
This is south of New Orleans.
Okay.
So we catch, I don't know, 300 or 400 fish. We couldn't even keep them all.
Right.
Snapper about this big. So I tell the guys, I'm like, hey guys, can I have your fish? I mean, we can't eat it all. So we put it on ice. And on the way home, when we came in, like 8 days later, I stopped door to door. This is how I started my career. Door to door, I was selling fish.
To homes?
To the restaurants. To businesses.
God, okay.
To State Farm agents. Hey guys, I got some fish. It's fresh as shit right here.
You know, I did the same job, by the way, but with boxes of frozen steak and meat and fish.
Well, I didn't have enough ice. I didn't plan on it. I didn't know what I was doing. So the fish was going bad.
Got it.
And I'm like, I have to sell this shit.
Right.
Otherwise, it's going to go bad.
So what you...
Okay, so any thoughts so far? Because what I can notice that they find there's a rhythm. There's a rhythm so far, or what are your reactions?
I mean, he's listening to Grant, he's like, oh, I did that too. And then it's like, well, now it's all about me. Like I think it's definitely all about Grant.
It's all about Grant. Okay. How about he's the one being interviewed though? Well,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, because I think that and it's about to get a little confusing. So because the idea here is, well, when did I have to sell? And he mentioned, and perhaps when we comment on this a little bit, like he mentioned that he started selling when he had to, or he became good when it was a point of desperation. He got fired from the shoe sales job. Shout out to Nicer. She said she got fired on the first day from her shoe sales job as well. But then this fish thing came along, and because of the urgency, if you will, because of the ice thing, what do you have to say? What are any thoughts about that urgency leading to you're in the sales? Well, anyone in business, okay, especially an entrepreneurial endeavor, has to sell. That's kind of like part of your gig, right? Any comments as to the importance of that desperation of having to sell, and all of a sudden now you got to be good?
Right. I mean, you have like, like you got bills to pay, you have like rent, all that stuff. And if it's like, this is your only way to pay for those bills and such, I mean, like you are going to figure out how to sell it no matter what. I think when there's that point of like desperation, you just give it your all. Whereas it's like, if you're someone who's, in sales, and then you maybe have like financial security already, maybe you're not that desperate because you have money, but like maybe, yeah, I mean, he started from the ground up, he was desperate, he had to make the money no matter what, and it's just like, yeah, he had to survive. So, I mean, I could see like how that, could affect someone who's in a certain type of sales situation. Like, I mean, I worked in commission before, and it's like, oh my God, I got to meet my numbers. Otherwise I might like not get, might not be able to come back to work if I don't meet my goals, So it's like, I do everything I can, things that I wouldn't normally be comfortable doing, or, like pushing, the customer in a way. I used to work at Guitar Center. Like I used to sell drums, and it was like, if I don't make my numbers, like, I have a talk in the office with my store manager, and he's like, Joan, what's going on? So it's like, as much as I hate having to follow up with customers and calling, customers from years before, finding out, oh, they're dead, but then I have to call the next person and see if they still want to come. It's like, you have to overcome. No, that seriously happened before. Like they gave me a list. It's like, here is all the people you can call that has not shopped here in 2 years, and you're going to call them. And it's like, I had to make my numbers. So it's like, okay, I had to overcome my fear of selling and just call them, because at the end of the day, it's like, well, maybe I'll never speak to them again or whatever. But when you're desperate to make your numbers, I mean, you do everything you can.
Gotcha. Let us see here. Boom.
What was your rap? What was your pitch back then?
Hey guys, I got fish. I got fish. That was my fucking stick.
I'll give you really good prices.
They're about to straight.
I don't tell them now, they're gonna go bad.
I got fish. I just caught them. You want them? And that's how I still sell today, by the way.
Okay.
Like there's no, it's very direct, to the point. Find out if you're interested, and then I move on.
So if someone's not interested, in other words, one of the things I know about, I listen, I did a little bit of checking, right? Not that much, right? And by the way, the reason I don't do checking is because I don't want to. So many, people steal so much shit out there, right? I mean, there's all these false gurus and people, the experts of the hour, right?
Yeah.
So I don't make it a habit of trying to go through other people's stuff, because I feel like then I'll adopt it as my own.
Yeah.
Sometimes I even realize that you took it from someone else. Accidentally.
Yeah.
So
my shit's so good, dude. If you watch it, you will use it again. You can't not use it a second time.
Well, really? Okay, good. Well, what's the stuff about being unreasonable? Like when you say, if you want to just be unreasonable, like not stop, but what if they don't want it? What's the fine line?
Oh, you saw the unreasonable. You're like the follow up.
No. I mean, like, okay, so you have two types of people. You have buyers and non-buyers, right? Like, what do you mean?
No, I don't believe that. I think they're all buyers.
You think everyone's a?
Okay, Joan. This is, by the way, one of the main points of contention. But before we get to that, let's give a shout out to my man Bernard Riley, Big Bernard in the house, dropping the $20, becoming putting himself in that sponsorship category for the show. Round of applause to Bernard. Thank you very much. Says, wait a minute, that's not Leonardo DiCaprio. I know, right? I'm like, is it? So, Joan, here's something that I hear. Grant is like, okay, I got fish. Do you want it? You either want it or you don't. I move on. And he said, that's how I still sell till today. Okay. And then Jordan Belfort asks, okay, well, where is that fine line of, no, you have buyers and you have non-buyers? And then what does Grant Cardone say? Grant Cardone says, I don't believe that. I believe they're all buyers, right? So, what's going on with this? What's going on here? Help us out, Joan.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked in all kinds of different like sales settings, like, aside from my business, like I've worked in all kinds of retail. and just observing like the certain type of clientele, like the people, like you could tell don't, like they're well off or they're not so well off. But at the end of the day, if they show up to look at what you're selling, they're buyers, whether they have enough money or not. And from my experience, it's like, I mean, I don't know if this is a good example, but like, when I worked in retail selling clothes, people come up to the counter and bring like a big pile of clothes, and they're not cheap clothes. Like I sold like, pricey clothes, and like, they're like, oh, can I get a discount, please? I'm like, no, and at the end of the day, they pay for it. So it's like, if they show up and they say like they're interested in something, they have the money to buy it, whether they ask for a discount or not. But like back to your point, like I think, yeah, everybody will buy something that they need. If everyone will buy it if they want it, if it's valuable to them, if it's worth the money, they'll pay for it, whether you tell them you can discount or not, they'll pay for it.
100%. And I'm going to allow Grant Cardone to try to elaborate upon this point here. But what I do know about the everyone is a buyer thing is that the objections that people give are never the real objections, because people can't really tell you, because it's the reason why I don't want to buy things, generally speaking, anybody that is, tend to be very personal reasons.
Right.
Why do I want to buy this gym membership? Because I'm scared I'm not gonna actually use it.
It's emotional, right?
Exactly. The real objections are emotional. The thing they tell you with their mouth, oh, I'm not thinking about it right now. Oh, I gotta talk to my partner, my wife, my CEO, my CFO. Oh, we're looking at that next quarter. Oh, whatever it may be. It may just be, well, I'm scared to change, right? I don't want to have to go through the hassle of switching over this software thing. Yes, my current software is crappy, but and people don't really want to tell you that. So, and then again, when he mentions also that people are buyers, it's not even about the particular product that you're selling. It's that people indulge in buying behavior to assuage, again, an emotional thing, assuage certain kind of emotional whatever it may be, right? Consumption doesn't have to be the actual ice cream. It may just be the buying of a shoe. It's not about the wearing of the shoe and having people see you. It's the literal just buying of the shoe. Mm-hmm. It's willing something into existence in the world. There's a power there. I went in there and I did something and I came out with something, right? I have agency in the world. I am somebody, whatever the hell it may be, right? People have this in them. And I think that one of Grant Cardone's problems, especially in this interview, for example, is rather than just chill and be a systematic explainer, like, definitely he doesn't have my personality. So I'm not saying that everybody, so I mean, he is what he is, fine. I'm not blaming him, but he has this issue of just blurting things out. No, everyone's a buyer. And then it can't just explain it in a systematic way. So let's go ahead and see how he tries to explain after having said that I ask if they're interested and I move on. Now he's like, oh no, everyone's a buyer. Let's see how he digs himself out of that one. Let me unmute that.
Buyer.
Every human being you meet is going to buy something.
Whether
they might not buy my fish, but then they're going to buy insurance, or they're going to buy groceries, or they're all buyers.
But what you're selling fish though?
In that case, I was selling fish, but that does not make them a non-buyer.
Of fish though,
that day, that moment.
Right. No, if they don't. My point is, technically,
every buyer's a buyer.
Okay, so
all I'm looking for is money anyway. Every seller's looking for something. They're looking for money. They don't want to keep what they have. They're looking for money.
So you don't think? Okay, so
I think every buyer's a buyer.
Slow it down for 1 second, right? Slow it down for a second. You speak almost as fast as me.
You're on the Red Bull. I'm not.
Literally, the guy had to be like, well, yeah, slow it down for 1 second.
I mean, he's generalizing. I mean, yeah, of course, everyone buys. I mean, that's just the fact. But I think he's trying to pinpoint, like, is everyone a fish buyer?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, this is because I know Grant Cardone's method. I reviewed one of his books, by the way. For those of you watching the channel, you can go to my sales and persuasion part of the, or is it what Ike reads? It's probably in both of the playlists. And the 10X Rule, one of Grant Cardone's books, I reviewed. So I'm quite familiar, well-versed with his method. Grant Cardone is trying to lead the Wolf of Wall Street down a path, but he's not doing it quite skillfully. The Wolf of Wall Street is not, because they both have this massive egos. There's a lot of, before this interview happened, a lot of like, Grant Cardone is better than the Wolf of Wall Street. So there's a lot of tension, and they're both in this small room, which I think actually matters Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they have their own way of selling. I mean, what's the whole thing with Jordan Belfort, sell me this pen, you know? Whereas like what's Grant's like what would you say Grant's thing is?
Oh, you mean is there a phrase along with, you know?
Yeah, if there was like one thing to describe his selling style.
Well, it's have you seen enough to make a purchase, right? Have you
Mm-hmm.
seen enough to buy? In other words, another thing though is that Grant is more of a marketer. Grant is a 10x guy. He's more like a sell to, in other words, make people know you. If you don't, he says things like, well, if they don't know you, they can't flow you, right? And the whole thing of, well, have you seen enough to make a purchase? Cut it short, right? Just go. Like he says, I got fish. You want to buy it? That kind of a thing. So did you have a phrase for Grant or a way of describing his style?
I mean, it sounds like, I mean, just because again, like I know enough about him, not enough about Jordan, but I get the vibe that like, yeah, he wants to like, okay, sell to everybody and see who, like catches the bait kind of thing. Whereas like with him, I guess, I mean, as I understood, I don't know if we talked about it, but like he focused on more one client at a time, whereas Grant's just like just throw it everywhere and see who bites.
Exactly. Like, oh, sell me this pen. That kind of like, I'm gonna like focus on you and the pen and try to unearth certain things. Grant is just like, here's fish, everybody, here's fish. You want it, blah blah blah. You buy now, everybody like, not very systematic, not very smooth, right? And you can even see that in their personalities. So it's interesting. I did not catch before when I watched this before a long time ago that he actually told them to slow it down a little bit. Let's see.
Question, okay? So if you're a salesman, a young salesman out in the field, let's say you're selling insurance, right?
Yeah.
And let's say you knock on someone's door and say, I'm not interested in insurance.
I understand.
Would you keep pushing and pushing and pushing?
No, I totally understand. But I don't believe that they're not interested is an interest level.
Okay.
Not interested is better than before you hit that door and they said they weren't interested. No interest is a level of interest.
Okay.
Like if I have no coffee in my house, I'm talking about coffee.
Okay.
Zero, none is a quantity.
Time for the wolf to do his thing. I'm going to sell you something that you want, need.
And then the wolf starts it. The wolf starts to sell. So one of the biggest things that came out of this interview, okay, and they're gonna stay on it. And after the interview, many people made many videos on it, reviewing, commenting, as we are doing right now. And one of the main things that came out was Grant said that no interest is a level of interest. He says zero. And by the way, if you want to smoke a pipe and be philosophical about it, zero is a level of interest. You're saying zero something, right? You're not saying empty set. You're saying zero coffee. You're saying zero interest. And he's saying, well, zero interest is a level of interest. So what do you think he's trying to do here? What kind of woo-woo magic? What kind of freaking crazy, like, in other words, never give up, even if they say zero, hey, you're not interested in buying insurance? Well, that's a level of interest. Go ahead. I don't know.
I never really thought of it that way, to be honest. I mean, have you? Like, do you see it that way? Like, like...
I see it that way, but only in the sense that I described earlier, which is I don't believe that there is zero interest. Okay? So what I would say is, well, if you were interested in buying, no. Because my system is questions. So whether, that's the fundamental, right? I'm going to ask questions about that. Okay?
Qualifying them, right?
Exactly. Presumably, okay, it's not just like, get the F out of my face, no interest type stuff. In other words, presumably, I'm doing my work where I'm able to keep them in the conversation, right? So what I would say is, when was let's say, I'm not interested in buying coffee. When was the last time you bought coffee? Right?
Right.
Because that's going to get them in the mode of, in other words, presumably, again, because this is all a kind of a hunting in the dark game. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them in the mind state of purchasing coffee, not so they can buy coffee from me, right? That's not the point.
Right.
I still have to close them on my coffee.
Planting a seed, right?
I want to find how they feel about purchasing coffee. Maybe the last time they bought coffee, it was a total scam or something like that. It's like, oh yeah, I went to Costco and blah blah blah, and they sold me this whole thing, and the beans were rotten, and like, oh man, it's pretty crappy. Like, when next do you? In other words, I would ask questions like that. Like, if you were interested in buying coffee again, do you think you would go back to Costco? Those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And then you may find out that it's not a question of I'm not interested in buying coffee. It's I could possibly buy coffee from you, but there's certain other things that are in me right now that I don't have any business telling you. You're just some freaking stranger, right? Why should I be telling you my business? That's the typical thing about objections, right? So why should I tell you? So your job is to unearth the real objection. So I believe in what he is saying in the sense that, 0 is still a level of interest, in the sense that that 0 interest may just be a cover, a word cover, a rationale for something which is deeper and emotional. And it is my job as a salesperson to find that.
Right. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Total sense. I mean, it's, again, like emotional too. Like when you purchase something, it's there's a lot of emotions that you're not going to reveal to salesperson. So it's like you got to open them up as a salesperson, get them emotionally invested.
100%. And it may be the case that whatever it may be, right? It may be the case that they're not ready to go through what they consider to be the hassle of purchase, right? That's why if I ask them the last time they made the purchase, I may start to find out certain things, such as if, for example, it was a long process, and maybe they don't think that's a problem. Maybe they just assume that it's always a long process, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to then say, hey, you know what? Since you're going to be purchasing next time, you know that with my system, okay? All you got to do is, look, I got this app right now. Blah, blah, blah. We're talking on the phone, right? I texted you this link. All you need to do, you see that link right there? Blah, blah, blah. Just all you got to do is swipe to the right. We take care of the this, the that, the X, the Y, the Z, the insurance, whatever it is that may be involved with this long purchase. In other words, sometimes people, again, just to reiterate the point, that people may be thinking that there's a hassle to purchasing something, and you can use that to your advantage and say, hey, I'm the guy, I'm the best. Do you want to have this conversation again with another douchebag? Look at me, I'm so slick, I'm so nice, I'm so good looking. Whatever it may be. And I have this app that'll make this process very smooth for you. Let's do it now. You don't want to do it in the future. You're going to get a dickhead. It's going to be longer, right? That kind of a thing. So there's so many kind of avenues, but the point here is you ask questions to try to, anyways, all kinds of things involved with that. I don't know. Any other comments on that?
Yeah. I mean, it's that whole thing, right? Like, so what would be a reason like no one would buy, right? 'Cause if everyone's a buyer, there's some level of interest. That's why they're sitting in front of you, talking to you about whatever it is you're selling. Like, what are the three, for me, there's three things, right, that they look at as to why they won't buy it. So from my experience when buying, like with the clients I've dealt with, it's either the price, it's either the product or service, or the business. Those are the three things that I feel like, usually are like the reasons why they won't buy. Price, product, service, or your company. They don't like your company, or they don't like your product, service, or they just don't like the price.
I see. 100%. So what I tend to do, because I like the whole questions approach. Questions are great because people like to talk. Even if when you
gotta let them talk. People love hearing themselves.
Amen. Those babbling salespeople out there, that's just some kind of crazy trope and cliche. That's not how that's not how the real winners operate.
No,
right?
No. I mean, that's the thing when it comes to like human relations, like just from what I've learned and what I've also read, there's a really good book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have you read that one?
Yes. Yeah. That is the one, right?
Yeah, that is the one. Yeah. It's like, really, it's no matter what, like, again, you got to check your ego first, because now a lot of salespeople have that too. But, when it comes to selling to customer client, you got to stroke their ego. You got to listen to them. You got to let them talk. You got to ask all kinds of questions about them. It's not even about you. Like, at the end of the day, they know nothing about you, but you know so much about them. But they're a lot easier to like get emotionally invested when you just let them talk. So I think that's just general. It's not just in sales. I think that's just in human relations, you go on a date, or you hang out with your friends, or you meet like someone that you're interviewing for, it's really like they like it when you let them talk,
They like it when you let them talk?
Oh yeah.
You see what I did there? That was an example of something that I always do. Okay, let me tell the people. Let me put them up on some game. You may have noticed what I just did, right? When I repeated the last thing that you said. Oh yeah, you see, Joan is sharp. That's why Joan is over here on this channel, and we review things because Joan is sharp.
Yeah, I mean, you let me talk.
Exactly. I let you talk, and then rather than even say anything, I simply repeated the last thing that you said. I say this all the time. It works like a charm.
It's flattery, especially like you get to when you talk to someone, you get to know them, and then they suggest something to you. If you go back to them, tell like, "Oh, I tried what you told me." They love that. They will love you forever. They know nothing about you, but you tried whatever it is they suggested, and they love it.
Interesting. Yeah, they literally think you're interesting because you are interested. You never told them anything about yourself. They did all the talking, but they're like, wow, I just talked to the most interesting person ever. And I don't know anything about them.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
For the audience, because I know Joan gets it, but for the audience, basically what I just did there, that method is basically repeating the last phrase somebody tells you. So somebody comes and they say, hey, you know what happened yesterday? Me, Joan, and Steven, we went and we took the red car to the bowling, whatever. Oh, you took the red car to the bowling. Yeah. And blah, 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 blah. And they did not have the jalapenos. The conversation just keeps going. Now, if there's a dead end, okay, let's say there's nothing beyond the jalapenos, then the person, you'll see that it's a cul-de-sac. That's the only time you then introduce your talking point or whatever, right? And then you let them run, blah, 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 blah. And the waiter had red shoes. Yeah. They just keep on going and going and going. All you're doing is repeating what they say. Works like a charm every time. It's called mirroring. And let's not give all the goods away. Let's go back.
I know, right? You gotta have some secrets. Yeah, you gotta have the secrets.
Gotta have some secrets. Keep them coming back. Come back in the next episode for the rest of the secrets. So let's see over here while this guy is finishing selling this commercial. I think that
boom. Big time. Let me just read the website to you. / salesperson themselves, though. How do you manage that situation? Do you keep trying to push or you go on to the next door?
Well, you definitely want to go. You definitely need a funnel. You definitely need. I mean, the ultimate solution to all sales is to have a lot of people to talk to.
Okay.
It's not some trick.
Right. So if you're cold calling out in the field, right? Let's say you're going door to door. A lot of people do that, right? So whether it's door to door or out on the phone, right? You knock on someone's door, right? Do you believe that you should try to knock on as many doors as possible, try to really go deeper into people who aren't interested? Or what's the sweet spot?
No, they should.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's not a trick. I was just what's the sweet spot? How do you know when it's better to not waste your time?
There is no sweet spot.
Okay.
Right? Like, because even if they hit the sweet spot, it's about volume. I mean, there's no success without volume.
Okay.
So anybody that's trying to like come up with the thing is trying to get away from the work.
Right.
And so there's no trick in this game. Like if a person wants to be really successful in sales, real estate, acting, you need a lot of hits.
Right.
Right. So like I think everybody's looking for that one thing that gets that in the door and gets that one sale, as opposed to opposed to, dude, how do I keep calling on the whole neighborhood?
Right.
How do I keep working that neighborhood and then the next neighborhood? And then how do I come back? Because one thing that cold call people do that incorrectly is they canvas cold a neighborhood and they never go back to that neighborhood. But watch, I do. I go back in. So I'm basically following you up.
Okay.
It's somebody once said, hey, somebody else blows up the tire. They blow up the tires and I ride the bike. They get them ready.
Okay.
So that neighbor, that person, that phone call, that door is going to be knocked on again by someone.
Okay.
Now,
thoughts on that there. Well, let me say what that there was as far as basically volume, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you are whatever it is you're doing, you need volume. You may be like, oh, I have these 2 targets and I'm gonna get them. Well, it's better just have 100. The numbers game thing, whether you're a pickup artist or whatever, we all know about the numbers game thing. You just go down the line, you go to the bar. Hey, want to come home with me? Hey, want to come? You'll be surprised. So there's the volume aspect, and then there's the other thing of the follow-up, which he says, hey, you go to a neighborhood once, right? And you never go back. But someone else is going to come back. And guess what? That other person might get the sale. In other words, he said, someone inflated the tire, and then somebody came in and rode the bicycle. Somebody already buttered them up. Somebody already prepared them, got them in the mode of thinking maybe I should change from AT&T to Verizon, and then someone else came in and just sealed it for you. So that idea of volume and the idea of always going back to follow up. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, follow up is very important because again, like I guess someone was asking like, what do I do? Well, I sell wedding bands for weddings, events. So that's my service, right? Like high ticket wedding band. And the thing is, like, just from my experience, like there's a small window when the person is ready to buy. So if you don't follow up, you might just miss that window by a day or by like 6 hours, because especially like in my industry, it's like, when I deal with brides and, the grooms, like they're in a hurry. They want to like not like check that off their list. And it's like, if you don't follow up, they're going to forget about you. And they're already like someone else is already like in their face. So I definitely agree with like the follow up as often as you can, as obnoxiously as you can, because the thing is, you got to keep rubbing yourself in their face that if you want them to choose you as the company to work with, follow up is super important. Don't want to miss that window.
Indeed. Follow up is where the money is. And then how about volume? How about the top of the funnel, which goes more into the marketing aspect of things? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously, the more the more leads you have, the higher your chances are of closing a lead. And depending on your industry, it gets kind of tricky. With the wedding industry, there's fortunately there's just a lot of people getting married, so there's someone there. Like, you just have to like know how to find them, and you have your own strategies on how to find leads. I'm sure with your business, you have strategies on how to get more leads. And obviously, the more you have, the more likely your chances are of closing one. And sometimes it's a long shot. Sometimes like you just you just find the right client. So back to that, yes, the more you have, like the more people you have to follow up with, the higher chances of closing somebody.
100%. And I think that Grant Cardone has been kind of pushing that whole thing throughout this. You can see the dichotomy already. Well, the Wolf of Wall Street is trying to get into I want to talk some slick talk. How do you talk slick talk? Let's talk about how you move and bob and weave. Grant Cardone's just like, I just tell everybody I have fish, right? It's like, it's about volume. It's about canvassing. It's about going back again, and so on and so forth. So Grant Cardone is more on that marketing, big top of the funnel. He's like, he focuses on the top of the funnel. And someone's gonna buy. Wolf of Wall Street is like, okay, no, I have a target. Obviously, both of these things are important. Okay, in my industry, for example, there are not many Googles, right? There are not many Facebooks. And when Google is building that spaceship structure out there, and as someone in the construction industry, either selling engineering services or whatever it may be, that's a rich target, and a target like you can't be like, oh, well, it's, in other words, they're not equal targets. Let's just put it that way, especially in certain industries where it's like, no, this is not like there's not 100 Googles, man. It's like, you got to go in there and you got to have your story straight for the Google if you're going to win the Google, and you have to think in a one track type of stuff there. Now, shout out to Snuggles in the house saying that I should check out on Mutabaruka. Yes, $5 is enough for me to go ahead and check it out. I think that you mentioned that before. From what I see, I just did a quick Wikipedia. It looks like some Jah Rastafari type person. You know what I'm saying? So I will definitely. Rasta works are manifest and it a blossom and a bloom. Nature always take its course, the ties it wide. You remember that one, John? Christ feed the multitude with only one loaf of bread. Poor people, bread. There is something for you. 100%. Shout out to Snuggles in the house. And Snuggles says, you see what Snuggles says over there?
Where am I from? I'm from California.
Don't do that, Joan.
Because, well, do you really want to know where I'm from? I could go through my history, where I was born, where I moved, and where I live now.
What's your ethnic background, Joan?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm Filipino. I know a lot of people were asking that last time too. I'm Filipino.
Yeah. So I kind of think it's obvious. I don't know why people ask this. Anyways,
I think someone's asking about my necklace. I don't. What is cyclohexane necklace? Chemical estrogen? What? Well, this is made. Actually, this necklace is made of repurposed drum cymbals. So it's made of a drum cymbal.
So a piece of a drum cymbal. Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of drum cymbals? Are the legit ones made in Turkey or whatever those?
Well, it's like a small company, like they're called Full Circle Drum Company, and they just like, when people throw out whatever symbols they have. I mean, I have no idea which symbol this came from, but they just turn it into like necklaces and like bottle openers and things like that.
I see. 100%. Said, lost my mind. Okay, cool. Let's get back to the video, okay? I think that, and by the way, what are your impressions as far as the usefulness of what they're dropping? Or, because it seems to me, well, there are two ways to look at it. It seems like, okay, well, we kind of know about sales. We are kind of entrepreneurial, blah, blah, blah. So we're able to kind of unearth the gems in this. Do you think that if somebody just watched, if the audience were watching this by themselves, would they be able to get what is going on between these two people and the gems that they're dropping, even though they're just doing this aggro thing?
If it's someone watching that's not in sales, or just someone like just
not in sales, and they're like, I want to learn about sales. Here's Wolf of Wall Street. He's interviewing Grant Cardone. Let me see what's going on. But do you think you'll be able to get what's going on here, or just too much chaos?
I think it's a little bit chaotic, but the only reason why I get it is because I understand like the way they work. Like I understand Grant, like what his vibe is, and I understand like what Jordan does. So I think it is a little bit chaotic. Like I feel like he says something, but again, like he doesn't explain it. But yeah, let's listen more and see what other gems he drops. That for me, like it's stuff that like I think generally he shares things that make sense. Like the more leads you have, the more likely you can sell. Everyone's a buyer. That's very true. What else? But yeah, for sure, definitely, I think you can get something out of it. You just have to like, when I listen to him, I get a little bit like adrenaline because it's like, come on, just like get to the point, I don't know how you feel when you listen to them. Like, I definitely feel a little bit adrenaline.
Yeah, they definitely spikes things up. Now, I like Grant specifically for that reason. He's the hey, that kind of stuff, and there is a part of me that's like that. I'm a Grant Cardone type of character. But again, I just say there's a part. And then I go listen to Wolf of Wall Street, because the Wolf of Wall Street is the kind of person that tells you things such as, voice inflections. Grant Cardone hates this kind of stuff, by the way. Like all that neuro-linguistic programming and things like that, he hates it. He has already mentioned in this conversation so far, like, there is no sweet spot. People are trying to find this kind of secret kind of thing, and he doesn't like that. He's just kind of like, if they know you, if you're big enough, like that, market, big, they will fall in the net, and then you move on, right? But so Wolf of Wall Street, just to kind of give you an idea of from his YouTube channel, because I don't think you said you don't really watch his YouTube channel, right?
No, I'll watch something if he's covering a topic I'm interested in, for sure.
Gotcha.
Like, because like he's big on real estate, and anytime he talks about that, I'm interested in that, so I'll watch some of it.
That's Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So Grant, Wolf. No, I haven't gotten too much into his stuff yet.
So Wolf is the kind of person that there's certain things that you do naturally, but you didn't even know you were doing them. For example, when you make these big claims, everybody knows, okay, you make big claims, like big proclamations, you open up your chest and you talk. But then there's certain things that you do where you reduce your voice. You're like, hey, and by the way, even if you don't get the 5%, right, because you guys didn't use the project properly, blah, 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 right, you still get the 30% up front, right? That kind of thing where you reduce your voice down, where it's like you're letting them in on a secret. We tend to do this naturally, and these are all persuasive techniques, okay? But he shows how you can line these different things up, where you go from the high and then to the low, and then you do that. He calls it the common, it's like a fairness, like when you say, fair enough, good deal, right? That inflection going up, it's kind of like it's almost like you're the dog rolling over, like, you know? But you see, we do these things naturally, you know, if we're not completely on the spectrum, right? But he kind of shows you, oh, this is what you're doing here, this is what you're doing here, this is what you're doing here, and this is how you could arrange these 3 different things to work. So you go high, and this is going to be the greatest tool that you've ever used, and you will save 100% on that time. And guess what? Even if you don't get that 100% savings, guess what? We're going to cut you that deal. Fair enough, right? You see, all that kind of dancing and playing around, that's the kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I was convinced.
Well, there you go. There you go. She was convinced. Let's go ahead and continue with the video.
The fact that most people are just not going to go back and hit on it. But the
What about time management issue? What's the time management in terms of new doors versus old doors?
I don't know. The gold is in the follow-up.
Okay, so in other words, you don't have a distinction, because it's a good question, don't you think? That, like, when do you
Not
know?
really. I think it's a bad question.
You think it's a bad question?
I think it's not the right question. I think
know when to not to follow.
I think the young salesperson should be taught, hey, look, there's no trick, dude. There's no freaking sweet spot of this game. The sweet spot, if there is a sweet spot, it is about creating tremendous volumes of activity, having lots of people to talk to.
So hitting lots and lots of doors.
Or taking lots of phone calls.
Or hitting doors, or whether it's call the phone, or doors, right?
Sweet spot,
numbers game, you think?
Without a doubt.
Okay.
But if they know me, rather than me knowing them, if they already know me, then my leverage goes up probably 10x.
Okay. Could you explain that?
Hey, I know you. I saw you in the paper. I saw you on like you know, you get that because people, you know about the movie, right? So you immediately have some altitude or lift.
Right.
Because people know you. It's not who I know, it's who knows me.
Okay, a couple of things happened there. One of which is hold on a second. So he said that it's not a good question. That question of where's the sweet spot? How do you know when to stop? Or you know, he said it's, you know, you notice that Grant Cardone was like, no, it's not a good question. Doesn't think it's the right question, and all that kind of stuff. And then he went on into being known. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to just try different angles. I mean, I guess what he means, like, so the question is like, is there a sweet spot on when to stop? I mean, honestly,
yeah.
Yeah, I think you follow up until they just say, like, leave me alone, you know? Because the thing is, like, again, you got to rub I mean, again, depending on the industry, but like for the most part, I think in most industries, you got to rub your faces in them as much as you can until they say yes. But if they're not, like, they'll tell you to stop, you know? Like, I mean, I'll follow up until they tell me to stop. Like, I'll follow up until they tell, I went with someone else, you know? I mean, I've tried the technique where I kind of like, hey, I know you went with someone else, but, you know, I'm still, you know, like, if you need help, maybe they'll change their mind, but that doesn't always work. So I just like, yeah, they'll tell you to stop, you know?
So you you think that the question is not necessarily a good question. Like, you can't really find a sweet spot. There's no point in talking about, when this happens and when there's the retrograde of Mercury over the star of the whatever, that's when you stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because, like, I've had experiences where it's like, okay, maybe I do stop, and then out of nowhere they're like, oh, hey, we've thought about it, we'll go with you. You know, it's really like, I think if you just keep yourself in their mind, back of their mind, I mean, they'll tell you when to stop, you know, like it's just, there's no sweet spot. Like, at this point, maybe you should leave them alone. No, like, don't leave them alone. Just keep going. Like, you got to go all the way until they're like, leave me alone. You know, it's done. It's over. I mean, like, what do you like for you? What is it for you? Like, do you feel like you keep going, you keep pursuing someone until they tell you stop? Or do you think there's a sweet spot? Like, what's your experience on that?
Now, this varies depending. I don't want to be that guy that always says, you know, it depends. It depends. Well, obviously it depends, but I'm going to define what it depends on, and then talk about if you're in this category is this, if you're this category is this. if you're doing what is a complex sale of any kind, in other words, a complex sale tends to be B2B, which is what I'm in. I'm a business selling to other businesses. I'm not selling to quote unquote customers like B2C, which, of course, the other business that I'm selling to is a customer, but you just got to define it in a certain way. The customer in that B2C example is an individual. So if you're selling to an individual and you have a product, okay, there is what Grant is saying is more correct. Mm-hmm. In other words, you need a lot of volume. You can't keep on going over and over to that place, and you can't keep on forcing the Cutco knife or the Kirby vacuum cleaner down their throat, right? You need a lot of volume. You need to canvass the neighborhood and come back and follow up on all these things, and they need to know you, perhaps, right? All that marketing type stuff. But when it's a B2B scenario, there are many stages, okay? And it's quite impersonal. So B2B is more like working a machine where this person here doesn't necessarily know in other words, it's like you're finding out the combination to this lock thing, okay? And it's like, first, I need to get the appointment with this person. And my sale right now is to get Terry, the friendly receptionist, okay, to know me and like me enough to get me the appointment with the project manager. That's my sale, okay? That's the lever I'm trying to pull. Once that lever is pulled and then I get the project manager, boom, 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 I know that he needs to get buy-in from this other person. In other words, and you're moving all these different levers and then boom, it clicks, bam, they buy, right? So that is a different kind of that requires a different kind of approach. So you don't stop going after Terry in terms of getting you that thing. In other words, people they don't necessarily know what you're trying to do. And that's the thing about the B2B thing. It's kind of hidden, especially the bigger the organization, right? Yeah. You can hide your real intentions. And these people are not the owners of the organizations. They're not so personally involved. It's not like they're coming out of their pocketbook or so on and so forth, right? And they may not have a relationship with the other vendor such that, we buy from my cousin, or we buy from the CFO's cousin. There's no way it's going to change, okay? So by the time you get to the CFO who signs the check, all these other things have been done where it's like, oh, did Terry say it was okay and the project, sign, right? So that's why I'm saying it's a different kind of game there. But if you're doing just product B2C, one person at a time, you definitely need a lot of volume. In the complex sale, it's about knowing the internals of the organization and how they make decisions and moving the levers in the right place.
No, it totally makes sense. I mean, for the most part, I deal with like my business selling to a customer, but there are times like we work, we get to know other vendors like wedding planners, and creating a relationship with them is sometimes way more valuable than creating a relationship with a potential client, because with this other vendor, she has authority to tell her clients, her brides, like, hey, go with this band. I like them, so it's there's a different process when it comes to like, me, a vendor working with another vendor versus me selling, me, a vendor selling to a client or a customer.
Indeed. So let me go ahead. Let's watch a couple more minutes and then we'll, I don't know how we're doing on time here. Oh yeah, so it's been about an hour. So we'll probably go for like another 20 minutes max, because we don't want these to go on and on and on. And I think that we've gotten enough of the essence of this video that we don't have to revisit it. We'll probably do a different review, ladies and gentlemen. And this is
like one thought. Like, I remember in his movie, the Jordan Belfort, like Leonardo DiCaprio, there was a scene where he went. Was it? Oh, I don't know if it's the same movie. Well, like, no, it's probably not the same movie, but it was Leonardo DiCaprio.
Is it Catch You If You Can? You're thinking of Catch?
Yes.
Yeah.
That one scene where he shows his necklace to this girl, and then all of a sudden she lets him into the bank. I don't know why that just made me think of that.
It's interesting because George Costanza has a thing that he says about that. And let me see. I may have one thing here. I may have it. Yeah, this. You know what this is? This is a clipboard. You want to get into certain places. You want to look like you belong in a certain place, a conference or something like that. You're like, oh, I don't know, a clipboard. Take a clipboard, start checking things like, oh, check. In other words, there are certain cues, certain things that you can do. Or the other thing that, for example, what's his name? He's a movie director. He's German. He's the one that did that movie with, he did the Grizzly Man. He does documentaries. I forget his name now. No, I must remember. I must Google this. Because I want people to check him out if they don't know this character, because he's a very good director and just an all-around interesting guy. One of those kind of weirdo artist types who actually does good work. It's not just weird.
There is a magic with the clipboard. I bring it everywhere I go. Like, show up to an event with a clipboard. I show up with a meeting with a client or another vendor, show up with a clipboard. Like for some reason it shows that like, yeah, you mean business.
Werner Herzog. Can I get a one in the chat if you people are familiar with Werner Herzog? Werner Herzog is a movie director. He does very good documentaries. The Art of Killing is the act of killing is an interesting one. Kind of documentary / reenactment in a rather kind of a surrealistic way. He also did he has great movies and so on and so forth. But one thing that he talked about, and he has the footage to prove this. One of the stories I must mention this about him is that he got shot live on camera.
Oh God.
He was getting interviewed and someone shot him. And, he was like, let's keep going. That's kind of one of his, he's that kind of guy. Anyways, whatever. He's from Bavaria. And apparently the Bavarians are kind of like the Texas of Germany. They're the most.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I know that because like Bavaria, like out of all the parts of Germany, they're very nationalistic compared to the rest.
Exactly. It's like they're the most German of the German, they're the most alpha, the most blah, blah, blah. So he's Bavarian and he took the bullet live and was like, oh, it's whatever. It's an insignificant wound. Let's continue with the interview. Anyways, one thing that he did, and this works too in terms of if you believe like that you're there, that you belong there. And also what he did, like he was walking past a group of Chinese soldiers, okay, with a camera, no permit, okay? This was back in the day too, when it was like, it's probably still a serious offense and you don't get away with stuff like that in China, right? It's like no permit to be carrying cameras here and documenting things or whatever. But what he said was he was talking to himself and he was looking very far ahead and just kind of walking. Like he was talking to like, oh, I'm looking for it was talking the cameraman, right? And just looking far ahead, like looking all the way past them. And he mentioned that this is easier to do with a group than with one person, right? Because with one person, they might be like, who are you? But with a group, they're like, well, no one else seems to be questioning this guy, so I guess I belong here, right? And he's not paying attention to them. He's looking at the distance, that kind of 10,000 mile stare, and just walking past and getting this beautiful footage in the middle of some military installation in China where he did not belong at all. So anyways, these kinds of tricks, ladies and gentlemen, we drop the gems over here and
act like it's totally normal and no one will question you.
Exactly. So let's see. Let's get a couple more minutes here. Shout out to Aaron B in the house. Aaron B in the house says, "Damn, son, yeah, he got shot, and was like, oh, this is an insignificant flesh wound. Let us continue." But there was that other, and that was, I think, with the president that got shot. Then blah blah blah. But continue. I think it was Roosevelt. Let's see.
You got any old people watching your show?
I got a few, I tell you what, though, I actually skew
Very
kind of on the young side, but I have all ages, of course, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is like for someone starting out, right? Like, because there's so many people get into sales, and the thing I see them doing, a lot of people, they waste their time talking to they try to go so deep into a non-buyer. You disagree?
I think people need to learn how to talk to people.
Right.
Keep talking to them, no matter what their interest is.
So if you give someone let's say you give someone a stack of like 200 leads to dial through, right? And you get a salesman who wants to speak to everybody. Like he's going to speak to someone who's, let's say, have no money, they have no job, and they want to sell a $10,000 product, and they waste 45 minutes in that call. Would that be smart or not smart?
He shouldn't have started that call with one product. Why?
Because he works at a company that has one product.
That's stupid.
You notice how Grant Cardone's mind jumps. He's got a little bit of ADD or whatever, right? So he immediately went into, because his whole thing is about volume, and that's the last chunk that we'll watch, and let's kind of wrap up our thoughts on this. He was like, well, you're talking to somebody, Wolf of Wall Street, that is. Like, these salespeople just want to talk and talk and talk. How about this person does not have money, blah, blah, blah. And Grant Cardone immediately was able to jump to the don't sell one product. Why do you think he said that?
Don't sell one. Yeah, I mean, the volume thing. I mean, like, if he doesn't want this product, maybe he wants something else.
Exactly. It's like, if he doesn't have $100, you should have a $1 product too. If you don't have you can't just have, all I have is luxury penthouse apartments. I know you have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and this and that and the other. You can't just have, all I do is, my gig is 5-hour minimum, and you get this and that and da 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 da. You have to have different levels. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. You're not gonna be moving product. You're not gonna be flowing, right?
No, definitely. I've been through that with, like, when I first started the business, we were just like, oh, we're just a 10-piece band. That's all we do. But we kept coming across clients that just had a certain budget, or they're like, oh, like, I don't have enough space. I can only do this band. And like, at first we were just so stubborn, like, no, this is all you want, the 10-piece band. Trust me, But eventually we had to, diversify and like start offering other types, of bands. And I mean, eventually, like, somebody's going to want something, I mean, we've sold all size bands at this point, so it does help to have more than one product, but, as long as it's within your niche, like, I mean, we're a music entertainment company. I'm not going to sell, I mean, I choose not to sell lighting too. Like, you know what I mean?
Some people are out there selling lighting, and
I don't have time to deal with both things. Sorry.
Gotcha.
I mean,
sell merch. You guys sell merch? Well, no, sorry, that's wedding band. You can't be selling merch. No. What do you think about merch, though, in general, in terms of, since you were talking about that just kind of came to mind. What do you think about merch?
I mean, I hate to be the one that says it depends, but it depends on your service. I mean, like, with your engineering company, do you sell merch? Do you have T-shirts? It says Prometheus Engineering.
No, but you give me ideas now. I mean, no, it's more swag, right? You want to give people stickers and free stuff so they can put it on their hard hat and blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So I think there's something else that, because I think he went a little deeper into this whole having different products, because I believe you mentioned in this conversation that, let him say it, and I'll thank you, because there's a whole thing about, you mentioned about fake it till you make it regarding selling high ticket stuff. You're selling this low whatever, but how do you hop to high ticket stuff? This is another point of contention in this interview, where people were like, oh my God, Grant Cardone is selling something to some people for $1, and then he sells a business version of the same thing for $100. And people are on him about it, that it's a scam. You laugh because it's like, whatever the person pays you, bro, that's what the market says. Yeah. Some people are ridiculous with their whole like fairness kind of it's not. I don't even want to dignify the notion by putting it under the rubric of fairness. But if that group over there wants to pay $100 for it, then that's what it costs. You can't tell the person, oh, no, I got to sell everything equally to everybody for the same price. That's insane. That's not what you do. The price is an interaction between you, the marketplace, okay, and what you can leverage. If you can leverage out of a business, there's a reason probably why businesses pay more for certain things, right? And what you're talking about is training services, right? So he's selling training services. He can sell it to the individual for $10 a month, but he's selling it to businesses for $100 a month. And people came after Grant Cardone for this. But I think that's insane. That's just crazy. Why are you coming after him? It's like, but anyways, let him say it, and then we'll wrap our thoughts on this. And let me see here. I gotta unmute that again.
So work,
you can't
change your
sell
job
one
then.
product.
Okay.
I mean, who does that? Amazon doesn't do it. Grocery stores don't do it. Starbucks doesn't do it. Nobody, no matter how good that one product is, nobody can build a business or any kind of success on one product.
Or let's say a couple of products, 2 or 3 products, right? The average company out there.
Yeah. You need more than one product.
You need more than product, okay?
Like if I try to hit everybody with a $10,000 product or even a $1
Even
product.
even $100
If I hit somebody
product.
with a $1 product, I miss the guy that wants to spend $10,000.
So the
Or
idea
doesn't see value in
Okay, so
$1.
the idea is go work for a company that has a whole suite of products, gives you you can sell something to everybody, right? Basically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that.
Cool.
Like we probably have, I don't know, we probably have 100 different products on our website.
What's the least? What's like you say of all the for in your business, right? Cardone University, right?
And that's one division. There's 16 companies. Cardone University will have 50 million users on that platform.
Okay.
So there's 2 versions of that. There's an individual and there's a corporate. The corporate's about 40 to 80 grand a year. We probably have 1,400 companies on that product.
Sales training or other training too?
Mostly sales training, time management, personal efficiency type stuff, closing, negotiating, personal finance, and money mastery. These are all things that I have done successfully in my life that I'm like, hey, this worked for me. I don't know if it's going to work for you, but I know it's going to work. I know it worked for me.
Work for you.
And now that we've had 30 years of it, we're like, hey, it's worked for some other people too. So if it doesn't work for you,
so it's interesting.
So that's the corporate.
Sure.
That's the corporate thing. And then the other thing, that's why I'm bad as an interviewer. I never listen. So fucking guy don't listen. So I have.
You don't like interviewing, right?
No, it's fine. No, I hate doing the.
I know it's tough, right?
So there's the corporate thing, and then there's the individual that can get into that program for, $100.
Okay.
Very similar product, if not sometimes the same.
Right.
I'm selling in one place for $100.
Sure.
And another place for 80 grand.
Same exact product.
So that was the thing that set off many, many, many other review videos. First of all, there was the zero interest means is a level of interest, right? Zero is a level of interest. 0 is a number. 0 is a level. And people were like, oh my God, he's so stupid. It's like, oh, Jesus Christ. And then there's this other thing of he's selling $100 over here and 80,000 over there.
That's crazy.
And,
Similar
well, you got to
product,
imagine
right?
that when he sells that product for 80,000 to the business can distribute to
Right.
the
Everybody.
people.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts on those two, on that idea there of, what he said, how I qualified it, and how also, if perhaps you want to elaborate more on how you were able to how you're able to sell the same service, because you're doing this band thing, right? Selling high ticket wedding band gigs. How are you able to go from the low ticket stuff to the high ticket stuff? It's you guys. I'm assuming you guys don't play crappy songs for the low ticket stuff, right?
Heck no.
So it's literally the same service, but so go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because we've also met with luxury vendors, and we've had conversations about that when we were still starting the business and figuring out what's our ideal client. We thought, we want to be the budget friendly, but now we want to be more on the higher scale. And what's really the difference is okay, with more money, there's more you could play with, right? But as far as with us, was I able to scale from a budget friendly band to a higher one? It's really just the confidence and the expertise that you show them. And because again, how it is when you don't pay musicians well, unless we're friends, or something like that, they don't take it as seriously, or they don't put the same amount of effort. And so for us, it's I know we're selling it for this much compared to this other band who's selling it for much cheaper, but the quality of service makes a difference, because no matter what, it doesn't matter whether we sell a 5-piece band or 10-piece band, the level of service is the same. Yeah, the budget's different, but there's just more to, that we have to work on with a higher ticket thing. So again, it's the confidence that you have and the expertise that you show. And there's this thing, some people just don't see the value, but the ones that do, that understand hey, I have $10,000 to blow on a band, they have their expectations. And if you just match that person, obviously it works out and it's easy. But when you're trying to convince them with a $5,000 budget to buy your $10,000 band, it's it's a little bit tricky. So But at the end of the day, back to your question, right? It's really just the confidence and just showing your expertise in what you do, and you're walking them through the whole process.
100%. So you don't have any issues with Grant Cardone selling 80,000 one year and $100 over there.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to see the difference, between like his product that's $100 and $80,000 if they're the same, if they're really literally the same. But I could see why like a business that has a lot of money would rather pay the $80,000, because for them it's like they see the value in it. They like, I don't think a multi-million billion company will take it seriously to pay $100. You know what I mean? Like, it just really depends on like what they value and like the value of the dollar to them. I mean, if you owned like a multi-billion-dollar company and someone was trying to sell you something for $100 versus something $10,000, like which one would you take more seriously?
Well, it's I think it's that's the thing about it. Well, no, 100%. Okay. Even if it depends in a statistical way, generally speaking, when people sell things to you for a higher price, you take it more seriously. When you spend more money on things, you tend to take it more seriously as well. So selling your personal training services for a certain amount per month will make it such that A, it's probably harder to sell, B, it's people are not going to take it seriously. The reason why I say it's going to be harder to sell is this. Personal training and things like that, where people have to put in the work, is one of those things where if people don't think they're going to use it, they tend not to buy it, right? We went over that particular emotional hurdle that people have in terms of buying. So if you're like, look, this is going to cost you $500 a month, right? People are like, okay. And obviously you're not going to a bum in the street trying to sell them, you know that they can kind of afford it, okay? And you're putting them in that mindset where it's like, okay, I got to take this thing seriously and I'm going to buy it. Plus also, yeah, and they actually do take it seriously, 100%. And one thing, and then I'll give you the last word, Joan. In this whole, and Aaron B, you need to cool it. Who's Constance Wu, by the way? Oh, do you know who this person is?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, I think, okay, I'm not going to go too far with this, but let me not roast Aaron B live here on the chat. Let's not do that. Let's not roast Aaron. So basically, if you're selling BMWs and Bentleys, you mentioned, I'm sidestepping, okay? I'll get back to this BMW. You mentioned that the level of service and so on and so forth. When you say level of service, you're talking about maybe the clipboard that you carry. It's maybe a nicer clipboard, and you wear a nicer clean shirt for this particular client. And, you take them not to if you're going to meet them, you meet them at a nicer place. And there's something called white glove delivery, for example, right? In terms of delivering things. You can get somebody, just throw the package at your house. Or if you're buying this Hermes perfume, okay, they literally don't deliver it unless you are there. They literally hand it to you with a little note. The guy's wearing a white hand glove. It's like a freaking $10,000 bottle of perfume or something. Yeah. And the whole white glove and everything is part of the experience. People think like, oh, this is how we human beings are. Shut up. You're that way too. Okay. People always think, oh, it's everyone else that gets into these particular kinds of dynamics in terms of how we're influenced by things such as levels of service. But I was mentioning that if you're selling Bentleys and BMWs, you want to make your lobby like the Ritz-Carlton lobby. Okay. That's what people want. It's not just the BMW, right? This is, it's a certain thing, like they're paying for the experience. Right. In other words, because they just came from the Ritz-Carlton, they don't stay at the Holiday Inn. So if you want to sell them a car, you have to raise the standard of your lobby, your shirt, your pens, your paper, your water fountain to Ritz-Carlton standards. And they'll give you the money, right?
Yeah.
It's not about, oh, well, but my car is so great. Why don't you just buy it off this dirt parking lot here? It's like, no, I stay at the Ritz-Carlton, okay? And I will not go below this standard. I want your marble heated floors, and I will pay you whatever you want for the car, but I want the floors to be marble heated floors. God damn it. So anyways, I'll give you the last word on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between getting a burger at McDonald's versus getting a burger at, like, I don't know, Lowry's or one of those steakhouses, right? Like, they have burgers too, right? So it's the experience, you know, like the higher they're willing to pay, the more expectations they have on how they're treated to buy this product. So, yeah.
100%, 100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the second episode. The second episode of what, you may ask? The second episode of The Review with Ike and Joan. And we reviewed today the encounter between the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort, we all know him, Leonardo DiCaprio, as Bernard Riley reminded us, and also Grant Cardone, billion-dollar real estate holdings, crazy wild man, 10x rule, all that kind of stuff. And, thank you very much, Blind Guy, his life, their wife. Do you see what's written there, and do you mind reading it, Joan?
Oh, yes. Ike and Joan are doing their thing with this series. Keep it up. By the way, does this count as a show sponsor, even though someone else beat me to it?
Oh, yes, of course, because, and I'll change the description. I'll put Blind Guys having life, and the other person that did the super chat, Bernard Riley and Blind Guys having their life sponsors. They're going to be listed in and check out their channel, Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Check out their channel for sure, and also Bernard Riley's channel. And obviously, you can have multiple sponsors. We want as many, there are infinite number of sponsors at the $20 level or the $100 level and so on and so forth. So yes. So thank you for your appreciation. Thank you for everyone who super chatted. Thank you for perhaps those who cash apped and I've not seen yet. For those who are watching silently and for those who participated in the chat, we will be back next Wednesday with another piece of footage from popular culture to review. And we're going to go out with our typical outro. And Joan is the one playing the drums, by the way. If we have to remind you all the time. And by the way, check out Joan's channel. I see Nicer putting her link in the channel. Last time we got 10. Let's get more. Let's give Joan more subscribers. She puts out good stuff out there. Exactly. And anyways, I was about to give them a gem about certain communication thing. So let me just say it. You don't want to say ums. What do? Okay? You stretch out words. So what I did there when I said, let's give Joan more subscribers. The alternative limit, let's give Joan more subscribers. You get what I'm saying? So here's what you do.
That's a good tip. That's a good tip. I never really thought about it.
I'm telling you, these people, they have no idea what they're getting here. Okay, we should start high ticketing these people and be like, hey, come to the seminar, okay? $500 flat, okay? Come to the seminar and we'll give you all the game you need. But basically, it goes like this. You get two things out of stretching out a word. Number one, you get the time that you stretch it. Number two, you get a pause. Here's what I mean. When I say, let's give Joan more, you expect a pause after that more, right? It's natural. It's like if I say, we went to Canada, Brazil, Mexico, and Nevada. So after the Mexico, the pause was natural, right? You expected a pause, right? It's like magic. So it's like I double the time. I say, let's give Joan more subscribers. You expected me to pause after I stretch, so I get double the time. I get to do all the thinking. I don't say ums. I don't sound like a dumbass. And you come back, you keep on listening. You come back, I keep on selling stuff to you. That's how the game goes. Go ahead and check out my playlist. I just did that again, by the way.
Fake it till you make it, right?
Exactly. So Joan is the one playing the drums in the outro. She is the drummer for Soul Rising. She is the drummer on any of the Soul Rising stuff that you hear. Well, most of it, especially, she's a drummer for Soul Rising. Come on, why are you guys bothering me about it? So in the outro song here, in the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity if hit we any moment, what a pity. Ain't that right? We're out. Peace.
in the den of iniquity. Vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment. What's a pity? Tomorrow never certain. What dwells behind the curtain? The face of evil lurking with that shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble that either pop or topple. Many will fall and stumble. Let the dozers gather rubble from LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso. Cannons could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising, and hearts are compromising. Convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming, and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances, and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest, and the righteous in your corners.